Hey, John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question about company size. I thought this would be an interesting thing to address. I've addressed this a little bit in my soft skills book. If you're looking for a more in-depth answer than I'm going to provide in this video, definitely check this out. I'll put a link below. But I've got a chapter in there about different companies and different sizes. But this question comes from Tom, and Tom says, hello, my name is Tom, and I'm watching most of your great YouTube videos. I am in the 4th of 5 years in university for majoring in electrical engineering. I'm making a niche towards embedded systems and IoT. I wonder what you think is best. Start working for a big or a small company in the beginning of the career. Additionally, what would be the next job position to aim for to boost my career/salary? Continue to develop software/hardware, assuming that's my entry job. Try to be a technical sales engineer or something else. If this would fit for a video, the topics could be small versus large companies, strategic ways in careers by aiming for the next job position. Best regards from Sweden, Tom. So Tom, this is an interesting question. There's definitely trade-offs between a small and a large company. You've given me some additional information by asking about at the beginning of a career, which sort of changes my answer. So, if you're just starting out, would it be better to work for a small company or a large company? I would say in general that you're gonna find that it's going to be better to work for a small company. And the reason why I would say that is because you're going to have to wear more hats, right? You're going to have to do more stuff and you're going to be more involved. If you work for a large company, probably as a software developer, you're going to work on this one small piece of the project, on this one small area of code, fixing bugs in this area, and you're not going to see the whole architecture. You're not going to see the whole process. You're only going to learn this one very specialized part of your job, which isn't going to be very widely applicable to the rest of your career. Now, there's a caveat here, which is, if you get an opportunity to work for like a Microsoft or a Google or an Apple, and you're planning on spending the next 20 or 30 years there, then it would be obviously best to start out there because you can grow a long career from there and go up the up the scales there. And it's better to do that as soon as possible. But if you're not, and it sounds like maybe you're not, then I would say a small company, because you're just going to get a lot more experience. A small company, you're going to be more responsible for the outcome, and you're going to see the business process. Especially, with the questions you're asking me, it doesn't sound like you're totally married to the idea of doing software development. So because you said, should I be a technical sales engineer or something else? What's going to be the best thing for your career or salary? Working at a small company, you're going to get more sense of the business. So you're going to learn a little bit more about how things operate and how things work, and the whole process of developing software. So that's going to be valuable to you. Now, as far as kind of your second question here, as in terms of where to go with your career, like strategic ways in your career for aiming for the next job position. It really depends on what your ultimate goal is. I mean, from a financial perspective, right? Go and get a job in the financial industry. Go work in New York City or London developing financial software. That's going to be the most money, right? By far. You're going to make more money doing that than anything else. But that's not everyone's goal. If you're not interested in the financial industry and you're just looking at where you're going to make the most money, unless you're in a company like an Apple or Microsoft, being a senior developer is not going to be that. It's probably going to be going into management, or being, if you go get your MBA and join the executive team, try to move yourself into an executive position. That's probably going to be the best. But again, that might not be the most fulfilling role for you. So you kind of have to balance that out. So, I would say though that in general, it's harder to progress up the ranks as a senior software developer and make a large amount of money past some point. There's a lower glass ceiling there than there is for some of the other roles that might not be as appealing, but keep you more profitable, like an executive position. It's rare to see software developers making as much as a CEO, unless they actually are the CEO because they own the company. So that's what I would say. As far as, again, to talk a little bit more about the small versus big company. The other thing to consider, if you're not just looking at money, is the trade-offs. A big company is going to be easier to hide under the radar, but your work is going to be less impactful. So you're not going to actually see the work, and like I said, you're probably going to be working on a small piece of a thing, and that might be fun if you enjoy that. You're probably going to get to work on big projects that are going to be a lot bigger than something that will happen at a small company. I mean, if you could be part of Google working on a self-driving car, you're probably not going to have a big role in that, but you can work on something that's pretty cool. So that's something to consider as well. And then with a small company, like I said, you're not going to be able to fly under the radar. If you make mistakes, it's going to be known, but your accomplishments are also going to be known. They're going to lead more to the success or failure of the team and the company. So that can be a good benefit, and it's probably going to be a little less stable. To give you kind of the middle road, the most stable company that you can work for is a medium-sized company, actually, because they're less likely to have massive layoffs, and they're less likely to go under like a startup would. But they're probably going to be the most boring in general to work for, because you're not going to necessarily be working on cutting edge things, and you're not going to be able to fly under the radar either. So there's definitely a lot of considerations to take in, or a lot of things to take into consideration when you're thinking about what company to work for. It really depends on what you're trying to maximize. If you're trying to maximize profit, like I said, go work on Wall Street, become a quant or something like that, or actually be a software developer that eventually goes into trading, and you're going to make a ridiculous amount of money. But if you care about like the job satisfaction, then you're going to want to consider more carefully the differences between the small and large company, and whether or not you want to stay in the technical field. So anyway, hopefully that helps you. I can't give you exact advice in this particular situation, because, like I said, it's very dependent on what your ultimate goal is, and that's what's going to determine your course here. But just starting out, you would definitely want to start out on the right foot and think about this and determine which place where you want to go, and that's going to determine where you should start. So hopefully you found this advice useful, Tom, and I wish you the best. If you have a question for me, just email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com, and if you like these videos, subscribe.